Okay, welcome. We are now back on the R4 Dome. This is episode 3, and what we're going to do is start to add some detail. So, recap on last time. What we did is we create the basic shape, we hollowed the shape out, and now what we're going to do is add some detail. I showed a little bit how we add detail, but what we're going to try and do today is we're going to recreate the R4 Dome that is in A New Hope. So we're going to start the ball rolling on that. So as well as designing the dome, this is also about showing you different tools, different techniques, different features. And today what we're going to do is I'm just going to show you a good way of looking at references. Okay, so in Fusion there's something called canvases, and if you click on insert and attach canvas, what a canvas is it's an image that you can attach to a plane as a point of reference. So I'll just show you how that works. So attach canvas, first of all it asks you for a face. As we know, you've got different faces. We're going to select if you're looking from the front, the main face that you can see. It will then ask you what the image is. I'm going to use in true Blue Peter style one we prepared earlier, the reference image, and what that's actually done is it's attached the dome to this canvas. Now you can see that picture is very tiny, so we're going to resize it. Now, didn't really go through a lot of these tools for moving and sizing objects, but what you've got is effectively this little bar and a slight curve bit allows you to resize things. So I'll show you what that means. You drag that and you move it and it makes it bigger. You drag it again and move it, makes it bigger. So what we're going to try and do is use these arrows to move it around in space, and effectively we want to make the dome roughly the same size as the one that we're actually creating. And also we might want to just tweak the angle a little bit so it's a little bit straighter. So really all you're doing is putting a little bit of a backdrop of something that can be a reference image for some of the size and scale things that you're doing. Obviously if you've got blueprints with measurements, they are a lot more accurate, but where you haven't, this is quite a good way of kind of pulling in reference material from movies or images that you've seen on the internet. So effectively that will do. You can also do all sorts of things. You can make the canvas darker, less opaque. You can make it selectable, so a bunch of stuff on there, but I'm just going to add that in there. So what that kind of gives me now, as you can see, is an attached image at the back, which is a bit of a reference. And what we're going to do is we are going to effectively start to cut this up now so that we can start to add the detail. So the first detail I'm going to add is this top green piece, and then I'm going to add these arms going down. And I want to make them as panels, a bit like, or not as panels, but we're having channels between them, a bit like R2D2 panels have. Now I know the panels in R2D2 ones are 1.54mm gap. So what I'm going to do first of all is I'm going to go to sketch and select line. I press the L key for that because shortcuts tend to make things quicker. And I'm going to select that back plane. And what I'm doing first of all is I want to chop this piece here off. So I'm going to take a rough guess of where I think I want to chop it off, which will be up there. I'm going to pull it out at whatever length, at 180 degrees. And I'm going to pull it back down 1.54mm. And then I'm going to pull it back again a little bit. It doesn't matter how much. And then once I've done that, I'm going to click OK. So what I've created there is almost a little bit of a sketch loop out, down and across. And I'll show you why we've done that when we start to cut it. So I'll click on Stop Sketch and I'm just going to split that body. So Modify, Split Body, select the dome, the splitting tool, I'm just going to select that tool. So what's happened now is because it's a continuous sketch, the knife kind of goes back on itself and zooms out across the dome like two laser beams. Click OK. And what it's done now is it's created that extra piece in the middle here, which is the detail. So the dome now consists of 3 parts, which is the top, the middle and the bottom. So that lets me now add some more detail, which I'll show you how to do. The next thing I'm going to do is these vertical lines here. Okay, so those I know are sketched onto this panel here. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to try and sketch these on top, and I'll show you why I'm doing that in a minute. So I'm going to press look at roughly the size of them, and I'm going to press L, and on the top of them I'm now going to create a couple of lines. Okay, so I'm going to pull it in to probably, let's go for about there, and then I'm going to draw that line at exactly 90 degrees to that space there. Okay, same as before. 1.54 mil, tick. I'm going to do another one at an angle there, and I'm going to go back out like that. No, tick that like that, okay. But this time I'm going to hit escape to come out line, so I'm just going to get rid of that little joining line there, and I'll show you why in a second, why I want to do that. So that now is effectively, if I cut that there, let me just show you, modify, split body, and you've actually got to select all, you can select multiple parts when you're splitting, and I'm going to select one of those lines, okay, and then what I'm going to do then is modify, split body. Remember, when you've used a sketch it disappears, so you have to bring it back on. I want to now split with that second line, and I'm effectively going to split all of the dome, so I'm going to select all of the dome pieces there, and I'm going to select that second line there. Okay, right. So what that's done now is it's created, go to front, it's created that detail line, so I can look at this and say, does this look about right? If anything, it probably looks a little bit too thick. Let me just have a look at that. Just look at the picture. So there's your lines, right? No, actually, I'm probably happy with that. I'm probably happy with that. And these, because you're working off images, this is what you've kind of got to do to see how accurate it is, and you can always tweak it later on if you want to. So that's given us one of the lines. Now, what I'm just going to do, just after testing that, I'm just going to undo that so we remove the cuts. Okay, now I'll show you why we're going to do that in a second. Okay, so I just want these two lines left here, and I'm still in sketch mode. The next thing I want is the same on this side, because this is effectively then creates that band. And the way I do that is I'm going to use some sketch commands. First one I'm going to use is something called mirror, and what I want to do is I want to mirror this line along the center here. So first of all, I've actually got to draw a, if I click on sketch line, what I've got to draw is a reference mirror line. So if I hover along any line and you move it to about the center, it will find and lock into the center, and that's going to be the mirror point for these two lines here. So I've done that, tick, and then I'm going to go sketch, mirror, and I'm going to select both of those lines, that one, and the mirror line I'm going to select is that, and that will create a perfect mirror for me, so I can start to cut the dome up. Okay. Now, that's great, but actually I want to cut all of the dome up. So, what I'm going to do now is I'm going to do sketch. Instead of using a mirror, I'm now going to use a circular pattern. And we saw this when with the objects, but you can do exactly the same with sketches. So I'm going to circle that one, that one, that one, and that one. Okay. The center point, I can select the center point here if I want to, or as I've always done is you can, but it's got to be a sketch that you're selecting. So I'll select the center point on there. And you can see now that that's now started to do 3 of those. I actually want 6. So now I've got the lines to cut all of the dome. So I'm going to click OK. Okay. So the next thing I'm going to do is chop the dome up. Now, this will mean that I will have loads of pieces in here in the browser. But let's just go through that process. So I'll stop sketch. I've got my sketches up there that I'm going to start to chop the dome up. So modify, split body. I'm going to just top dome, press the shift key and select all of those, and the first line I'm going to select is one of those sketches. Okay. As always, when you've used a sketch it disappears, so I need to make it reappear again. And what I'm going to do then is modify, split body, and I'm going to select that, all of those domes again, and I'm then going to select that second line like that. Okay, so now as you can see, that's given me the one split, but because it goes right the way through all the bodies, it's actually given me 2 faces. So I only need to do this 3 times, and I'll show you what I mean by that. So modify, split body, okay, and again I'm going to select all the domes because I'm not bothered where it splits. Splitting tool and that new line there, okay, and the same, I'm just going to repeat that, body for split body, and you can see the parts as they all start to create, and the splitting tool, I'm going to use that line there, okay. So now what I've now actually got the first part, the first bit of detail across two faces, and what I really need to do is repeat that on all of the rest. So modify split body, and again, don't worry about the number of parts you've got because we are going to pull them all back together again. It's just this is probably the quickest way of doing it. I'm going to select that line first of all, okay, modify split body, yeah, again, you can see the amount of dome pieces that we're getting now. There we go, select, and then that second line, if we can find it, which is there, okay, and then modify split body. I know, loads of these dome pieces now. We've got lots of these in, lots and lots of dome pieces. Select that line, okay, modify split body. Again, we continue to split to create lots and lots of domes. Look at all these dome pieces here. Select and that line there, okay. So now we've done two of the three faces, so we've just got the final one to do. Modify split body. Let's go through all of these domes. So this can be quite off-putting because you think, oh my god, there's loads of parts. Don't worry about it, because we're going to bring it all together in a bit. So okay, what's annoying with this is it would be really useful if you could actually select more than one splitting line, rather than having to repeat it. But it will let you select multiple bodies, thank god. But it will not let you select multiple lines. So we just repeat that with that one. Nearly done now. Okay, and then modify split body. Let's just go right back up to the top again, and you can see the number of parts we've got now. We had 70 last time. God knows how many we've got now. 83. That line, okay, and finally modify split body. That one, right down to the bottom, press the shift key, select, and that final line is that one there, okay. So what you've actually got now is we've now got all of our detail. I have unfortunately also slightly cocked that up, because what I wanted to do was to continue the splits down to the lower ring as well, but we'll cover that off in a second. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is modify split body, and I'm going to do the same again with the ring. So ring, select, and what I will do is I'll just select that one there, click OK. What I didn't do, I should have probably done is selected the whole piece when I was actually doing that. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to do the rest. I'll just pause the video so you don't have to sit through a lot of repetitive stuff, and we will see the final results. One sec. Okay, so what we've done now, as you can see, is I've just gone through and finished off that splitting of the ring. It didn't take too long actually. So now we've got the start of the details. We've got lots and lots and lots of parts here, but don't worry about them just at the moment. So the first thing I'll do is just tidy the space up a little bit, because I need to do so. I'm going to get rid of the sketches, like I said. I'm also going to hide that canvas so you can see the actual model. So what we're going to do now is we're going to start to create the little recesses. So, and I'll show you how we do that. What we're doing is we're selecting the face, and we're just going to press and pull. Okay. Now, what I want to do is I want to effectively press and pull the face. And if I select anything that is curved, so let's if it's like anything that's curved, when you start to do press and pull, it actually starts to give you the radius number, which isn't easy. Whereas if you do a flat piece, you can just highlight minus 1.54. So I'm just going to do is I'm going to pull the pieces in that I want to do about 1.54 mil in. Okay. And I'm going to do these in different areas. So press pull minus 1.54. Okay, so what if you look closely now, what I've just done there is I've just taken that one piece in by 1.54, and what I want to do now is start to sketch out, and if we go back to the reference image, I want to sketch out these white panels with the edges. So the way I do that is I can multiple highlight if I want to. Press pull 1.54. Okay. Do the little square in between, and then do this one here. Okay, so what that's actually done now, if you look at it, that's created the channel. On the droid that's on the screen, these were probably just flat painted without channels, but if you're printing, it's easier to paint this way. It looks a little bit neater as well, so I'm just adding detail. I'm not saying it's movie accurate. Now once you've done a pull for 1.54, if you go and start to do curved pulls, what it does, it doesn't show you 1.54, it just shows you a distance, which is the radius, but it will automatically apply the last pull to that radius. So that is actually going 1.54 in on a circular one. So what we've done is we've done that for that panel. We're going to do the same for this panel. We're going to just really continue to repeat that as we go round the droid. So press pull, and all you're really doing is highlight, right click, press pull, press OK, because it's remembered that the last time you did it was 1.54. Okay. Okay. Okay, and then don't forget these little corner blocks here. Okay, and we'll just do that again. There you go. Okay, so that's two of the panels, and you see where we're up to. We're up to there. So the next one's this one here. So you can multiple select if you want to. Okay. Okay. And you just repeat that like that. So what you're actually doing there is you're starting to put the detail into all of these little faces, etc. Okay, there we go. Okay, and then we can do the next panel, which is this one here. So we'll select that one, press the shift key, multiple select, go up a little bit, press the shift key, oops, not that edge, that one, press pull. Okay. And then we'll do that one, press pull, okay. So as you can see, and to be honest, doing this kind of stuff is quite good practice from playing around with Fusion and learning how it works. So, so the way I would kind of do it is I'd just start multiple selecting on the ones that I want to do, just because it's quicker. And what you're trying to do really is continue around the dome to make that detail. Computer just froze there for a second, so it's a bit of a pain, but there we go. Let's have a look at that, and then that one, press pull. Okay, so yeah, a lot of work in Fusion can be quite repetitive like this, but this is really as you start to add the detail that you want for your droids. So press pull. Okay, and obviously with there's different tools that you can start to combine in Fusion when you start to use things like rotate, sketches. There's 100 different ways of actually achieving the same results. So what generally the way I tend to do things is very similar to this, which is I just take basic objects and start to cut them and down and add the detail. Now that looks like we've now completed all of that detail around there. So once that's happened, what I'm going to do now is put it back as a single unit. So modify, combine, and I can now select all the rings. So I'm going to make the ring one object again. So press that, shift, combine. It's under join, click OK, and now the ring is back to being a single piece, but it does have the detail in it. Okay, it's very similar process again for the dome. So yet again, and Fusion just starts to slow down when it's got loads of details and things, so it will speed up. So top dome all the way down, so modify, combine, right down to the bottom, press the shift key and highlight all of that. Oops, actually let me just do that again so it's a bit clearer. So it was because I had a item selected. So modify, combine. It's asking me for the target body, which is the one actually that it retains the name of. So I use dome, so it's tidy and saves me having to rename it. Scrape down to the bottom and press shift. Okay, there we go. They're all selected. So that's 108 pieces it's going to join. Click OK, and what will do is effectively now that creates the dome and the ring, yay, with detail. Okay, if you look round now, you can see what it's done is it's actually created the little recesses, it's created the little panels. So that gives us the first layer of detail to recreate this dome. The next thing I'm going to do is just make it look pretty, and then I think we'll finish on this particular video. And what I mean by pretty is we're going to apply some colour so it looks nicer. So if I right click on the dome or any item and click on appearance, it'll take you into a new piece here, which I don't think we've gone through before. And what appearance is it allows us to apply different colours to different elements. And you've got a choice of faces or body and components. At the moment it's steel satin, which is default. If you go into paint and glossy, there's loads in there. So we're just going to do a basic white and probably a basic green. I think if you double click on them, yeah, you can darken them up a little bit. So we'll darken it up just to kind of make it look a bit interesting. And then what you do is if we click on bodies and apply that, it'll make the whole dome green or back to silver. And if we click on faces and do that, it will just allow us to colour individual faces. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to start to colour individual faces. Obviously for printing this makes no difference whatsoever, but when you're designing, it's quite therapeutic, I think, but also it kind of lets you start to see what the final droid image or whatever's going to look like. So I'm just going to colour in all of the pieces that I want to have green. I've realised here that I could have severely saved myself a lot of time actually, and I'll just show you what I should have done. So go on to bodies and components and apply white. It warns that it will remove all the work that I've just done. Okay, that's fine. And I'm going to do white on the bottom one, remove, yep. And then I'm going to go to faces and I'm going to start to add the green into the faces, because therefore I'm not going to go back and paint the things white, which is what I thought I might have to do, hence why I stopped halfway through. So I'll just drag these onto here, make that green top. It'd be really good if it was this easy to paint the domes in real life, wouldn't it? Okay. And then I'll just then start to do these bottom pieces like that. Okay. Bottom pieces like that. Okay. Bottom pieces. Oops. Thank you. Bottom pieces like that. Okay. Bottom pieces like that. Okay, so what we're doing now is just colouring in the dome so it looks a little bit more in line with the movie one that we've just looked at. Okay. Now, there we go. So now we have actually got quite a nice model. of the dome. Just going to close appearance. There we go. Go back to normal view. So there you go. And that I think will do us for today. What I will do just before we go is I'll just show you one of the other workspaces, which is quite interesting. So you click on model and click on render. What render workspace is it takes what you've designed and it will create a photorealistic type image of it. So I use this obviously when I'm starting to share some of the designs that I've done before I printed them. So you can literally angle it at whatever angle you want. Now that it gives you a nice kind of semi-render, which it's got at the moment. But what I like to do is kind of do a little bit more of a photorealistic one. And so what you've got in there, you have this button, which is the in render canvas. And what this actually does is it does real clever light scattering, which obviously is a lot cleverer than what I understand. But what it starts to do is bounce light around. So what you end up with is you end up with a virtually photorealistic rendering of the item that you're doing. And then across the bottom, you've got kind of, if it gets to this point, it's excellent, and when it gets to this point, it's a final. So you can leave it a little bit until it gets to a stage by which you're happy. And I typically would screen capture this then to share the design so far. Okay, so that's a little fun thing, I guess, on render. I'm going to drop back down to model now. And so, as you can see, that's where we are. So I will save this dome as Dome 3, along with obviously the videos. In the next one, what we will do, we've got a final bit of detail to add in. So you can see these lines here. Then there's some little panel details that you can just kind of make out, which will freeform a couple of panel details to show you how to do that on flat and curved surfaces. We'll start to add this eyes in, so what we'll do is start to build the dome up. But hopefully that's useful, and look forward to going through this on the fourth one. And obviously these are all there really for you to do what you want with. If you want to add, create and change things, add extra patterns, just gives you more flexibility to create yourselves a unique droid. Okay, so thanks very much again, and hopefully the volume's a little bit louder this time. I've tried to tweak some of the settings so that it all sort of is audible. So happy designing, happy printing, and I will speak to you all soon.